Hi everyone, I'm Karen Walstra and I'm super excited to be sharing with you this evening. We're going to be looking at this incredible South African AI tool, which has been specially designed for teachers. On top of that, it is really useful for parents and it can help students in high school with learning. I want you to have a look at this quick video to watch how really cool it is. Enjoy.
Education is meant to create clarity. But for many teachers, learners, and parents, it can feel overwhelming. Too much admin, too much confusion, too many unanswered questions. That's where CAPPI comes in. Built entirely around the CAPS curriculum, CAPPI brings structure to learning, with trusted, curriculum-aligned support for teachers, learners, and parents. No guessing, no noise, just clear, guided learning that helps everyone move forward with confidence. Because when education is structured properly, it doesn't just inform, it transforms. CAPPI, Structured Intelligence for Education.
So for me, this is a really exciting tool. And I'd like you to meet Tim Holiday, who is from Maze. Excuse me. I'd like you to meet Tim Holiday, who's from Maze Education. And he is the developer for this and the creator and his thinking around that. And Glenn du Toit from Acer, who's going to talk about how Acer is going to be involved with this project. So Tim and Glenn, tell us about how this idea came about.
Hi, Karen. So thanks for having us here. It's great to be here with you. So I think I'll just start off by talking maybe a little bit about the history. Like you said, how did the idea come about? And then Glenn can take over and show you a few things. So I think I was speaking to you earlier and we were saying that you and I had a lot of conversations about AI about 4 years ago is where we started getting quite deep into it, some serious conversations. And one of my biggest problems has always been that people don't use AI correctly because they don't understand really what it is a lot of the time. So a lot of people are using general language models thinking that they're going to get all the answers in the world out of them, but not really understanding how the thing was trained or anything in the first place or how to get the right information out. So even if you learned how to prompt like a master, you still can't get the kind of information out that you would need always as a teacher when you're looking at a specific curriculum framework. So I decided about a year ago to start this project and excuse me, I'm losing my voice. So yeah, basically what I did initially is I started creating just a general kind of chatbot for curriculum, and I wanted it to be everything that a teacher would need to be able to cover what they're supposed to be doing within the curriculum framework, but be able to actually focus on their teaching rather than trying to find the bits and pieces of curriculum that they've got to put together, and also know that there is a tool that they can use that will give them all of the right answers all of the time, and they don't have to worry about hallucinations or the AI picking up all sorts of random nonsense, like some sort of fiction book that slipped through the filters at some point might become part of the answer. So, like I said, it started off as quite a simple project, and then I realized that what I needed to do was to create a massive RAG out of the entire curriculum. So we have processed about 9,000 documents currently inside CAPPI. So those all of those documents are curriculum documents, ATPs, workbooks, all sorts of things that work together to give you the answers that you'll get inside CAPPI. And CAPPI does understand the curriculum or the CAPS ecosystem. So it does look at things like ATPs, curriculum, all of those kind of things, and works together in kind of the right way to give you the right answers. So I feel like I'm going to keep talking on and on and on. I think I may have answered your question.
But for me, I suppose So for me, the really exciting thing with what you've told us is that it's a closed ecosystem. and it's been trained on all these curriculums. So in Africa, where we've got this huge bias because so little of the global data is trained on African data, you've now got something which is really contextual and understands exactly what the teachers need. And for me, that's what makes this so exciting, is that it's not going to find stuff off the web. It's not being trained on something that's not South African. It's South African documents. So the accuracy of that is just immense. And the way that I've played with it, I really see that in terms of being a huge benefit. Glenn, do you want to show us some of the things that you explore and demo and show to people, please?
Well, thanks, Karen. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I think just a little bit more on the journey, because Tim's, the connection between Acer and Maze, or should I say with Tim more than anything else again. Ironically, what happened is which is about 7-8 months ago, Tim, I think you had started working on the project, and we were put together by somebody who suggested we chat about something in the esports environment. And as you know, Ace has been quite excessive in the esports. And I said to Tim, this is not something, I think we've kind of done this enough. You know what would be really good? And we then started the journey of talking a lot more. And with my background in UX and UI, started speaking to Tim and working with Tim to build this for a tool that we could, as Acer, potentially partner with. And we managed to hook him up with a little bit of angel funding to try and fund some of the projects, because this is an expensive project, as you can imagine. And this is how we got to where we are. So I'm going to take you through, simply because Tim's done a lot of the development behind the scenes, but I've done all the complaints about this is what it should look like. What I do want to point out to you is that this journey that we did start together on the development side, we've actually right from the early stages, we sat down with teachers, and we brought a work group of teachers into the room as late as sort of November last year, and actually got them to start playing with it. And we built it based on their feedback. And they would say, we need this. And it was some simple stuff. So I'm going to take you through and just sort of really bring you in and share that with you. If you guys are ready, let me just share my screen here and take over from you. Here we go. All right, cool. I'm going to assume that we're live, and away we go. So what we've got is we started off by just sort of getting a very, very simple way that we needed to log in. And that was driven by making sure that we could move into log in with Snaplify accounts. And it's quite important, because the CAPPI doesn't collect user data. All we need is we just need to know who the user is, and we need to know, from the subscription. And that kind of is the entirety of the data that is collected. We don't track and train on the data, and Tim might touch on this a little bit more, because what we don't want to do is you don't want to pollute it with an individual's bias. So let's say, for example, we find that the Western Cape teams are using CAPPI quite a lot. They'll have a bias towards why the Western Cape is better than Gauteng. So we've got to make sure that we keep that stream. So it doesn't track data, and it keeps you safe, and it keeps you secure, both for you and the learners. So you've got the teacher hub, the learner hub, and the parent hub. Each of those three hubs that we spoke about there, they perform differently. And this is the beauty of how CAPPI is designed, because the teacher requires something very different to what the parent desires, or what the student learns, or what the student needs at that case. And we specifically went for the three. The primary AI tool is driven around, the large language model is driven around the teacher engagement, because from our side as Acer, what we were looking for is how do we add value to the education system, particularly in areas where teachers are coming out of university, or they're coming out of different areas, and they don't really have the breadth of experience that they necessarily need. And how do we go about it? So this is the user face, and very, very quickly at the bottom left over here, you'll see that you've got your main areas. And the first thing that the AI will prompt you to do is to create your profile. You could then go in, and you then can lock in your profile in terms of the grade you want to teach. And you can see that it's more than just the traditional English, Afrikaans, maths, and sciences. There's because it's embedded down, we've got and grounded. Marine sciences is there. And this was one of the criteria that Tim and I, when we spec'd it, was that we can't have a situation where we only are looking after 5 or 6 subjects, because often the difference between getting in and getting your number and getting the right scorecard sometimes can come from the smaller subjects and not just necessarily the big subjects. So that's the one thing. The other area that you would then look at doing as well is let me just go back. You create your profile. When you create your account, you can choose your language. So you can change the language if you want to, and it will then translate into the 11 official South African languages. And we're currently experimenting with a couple of additional languages as well. So, it's beautiful, because now you can start engaging in home language if need be. I'm going to stick to English because my Sesotho is not as great as it used to be. So that's the sort of the setting up of the profile. Now, this is quite important, because we don't want to keep going backwards and forwards. And when we start looking at the parents one, you can see that we could create a parent profile, and then they can create the students' profiles in there. But we'll get to that. So once you've got your type set up, you can then choose to go into an IEB mode. Now, as many people know, the IEB curriculum, or the IEB, is an assessment base, and how the questions are answered, and a couple of other ATP adjustments that go into that. So what CAPPI can do is it can work in functional standard CAPS, or you can activate the IEB mode, which will then change the tone and the answers to align more towards the IEB requirements in and around there, which is very, very important, because we don't want to go down rabbit holes of chasing information that we don't necessarily need. So now, if I can also choose, I'm going to profile.
I think Glenn, from that point of view, I think it's also to say from a CAPS point of view is that you've also trained it on all the ATPs. So it's not just the traditional CAPS documents, it's also ATPs. So the teachers who are teaching from a government point of view or a public school point of view, they can get a really detailed view from that for their lessons. And then from the IB, you've also thought about how that's different. So for me, that's really important in terms of how you've considered that whichever way teachers are actually working and whichever side of the curriculum within South Africa that they're using. I think that's really important. And that, you started showing the marine studies. Sorry. Yep.
No, go. Like we started showing the marine studies. Keep going.
You've got all the different subjects. So you can go all the way up to grade 12 with this. Doesn't matter which subjects your school does or takes part in, whether you're a technical school, whether you're a general school, whether you're an academic school, whether you've got some of the really unusual subjects in your school. You've thought about all of that. And that is also another really important feature that should be highlighted, that it's not just the traditional academic STEM kind of subjects with some of the social sciences. You've included everything, which means that teachers can now be creating resources. It doesn't matter what subject they teach. So that is such a win for teachers. So yeah, I think that's what we really need to be aware of.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so important that we sort of pause at that point, because this is driven predominantly here by how do we make teachers' time more efficient and more effective. And it doesn't help you to just do it in a couple of subjects. You kind of got to cover everything else. I mean, if we have a look there, Tim, I can't remember which that was, but we did a presentation at one of the GDE events, and the teacher turned around and said, there was a subject that I can't submit. And we've sat down with her afterwards, and we said to her, we'll do a trade. We'll give you a year's subscription, give us all the ATPs and everything. And by the weekend, everything was uploaded. And that's the beauty of this. You can't do that on an international scale with a company that sits over in the UK trying to adapt. And you mentioned it earlier, is this has to be built for the South African environment. And the South African environment is dynamic. There's multi-linguistic environment, and there's different requirements. You've got the CAPS requirement, IB, etc. So yeah, that's there, and that's. I'm just going to sort of lock this in. If you yes, I just want to quickly lock something in here. I do want to show you the before I get myself running down.
We can't actually read all the text because it's a bit small. So tell us what you're clicking on.
Okay. All right. What I'm going to do is let me just try and make it a bit bigger. There we go. Well, maybe that's a bit too much, eh?
Oh, right. That's better.
There we go. So I'm going to select the grade. We can select the grade, and remember, this is the teaching portal. And I'm going to select the subject. And for the case of this, I'm just going to submit a life skills. Remember, I'm not an educator, so I'm playing we're just showing and demonstrating this one here. But what will happen is that as soon as I go to my profile, I didn't save my profile. Sorry about that. Let me just go back and try that one again. And let's go grade 4, and let's just do life skills again. And we'll go down and we'll save the changes.
Remember to click save.
Yeah, remember to click save, otherwise it's just going to stay blank. Now, when I go to my profile, I'll click on my profile and you'll see immediately it changes to the grade and the subject, so I don't have to keep refreshing. And this is quite a nice little tool to have.
Exciting. Yeah, definitely a nice to have.
So this was one of the designs that came back from one of the teachers, and she said that she'd like to have this over there. We did that one nicely. So if I leave this here and I now engage in the AI tool, it will automatically sort of know that I'm a grade 12. And what's also interesting is that you can put a little bit of a profile feel as well. Let's just go back over here, and it actually will start changing the way that it tells us a little bit about yourself. So I've been teaching for 25 years. Okay, so a 25-year vet, and I'm going to save that as well. Now, as a 25-year teaching vet, it'll then start knowing that I've been here, done that, got the T-shirt a few times over. So you can create your profile and you can actually talk to it and develop a bit of a relationship with CAPPI, and that's the beauty side of it. So once you've got that, I'm going to take the profile switch off, and the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to be able to let CAPPI run a little bit and have the freedom to ask some questions. So what you'll notice is that in the chat there, it's very intuitive in the way that it is here. It's laid out whilst there's a lot of information, because we're trying to help. We're trying to help, not only educators who are IT savvy, but also those who aren't. We've got a couple of tips how to use that CAPPI, where you can give it context. And this is really just basics of prompt engineering, what you would like to do. Share as much as you like, ask questions you always want, don't be scared, etc. And use CAPPI for other tools too, like Canva, PowerPoint. You can ask it to help you with other things. And then, of course, let CAPPI finish, because like everything, AIs are quite sensitive. If you keep asking it questions while it's trying to answer, it's just going to sort of keep looping. So, we just give people a few tests through. But let's get to the major layout here. You'll see that there's 3 primary areas. The one is the chat, where we're getting to a little bit now. The second one, which let's focus on that for a little bit here, is let CAPPI lead. This is one of my favorite tools. And this actually comes out of one of Tim's programs that he wrote, where it was a prompt engineering tool, which was to help people prompt. So what happens now is we've taken the tech that he designed and we brought it into CAPPI, so that it will let CAPPI lead, and it will actually help you with the prompt. So whether you need bro there, and it says whether you need help or whatever it is, just start the conversation. So hi, I want info on grade 4 English. And what will happen is CAPPI will then start the conversation with you, and will start drilling down and asking you questions to understand quite a lot more in terms of what you're looking for. So basic questions. Are you looking for English home language or first additional language? Do you have specific needs? And as you ask the questions, so CAPPI will start filtering through and develop the prompt for you, and develop it and take you through the journey of prompting. So that's a really, really nice tool, because you don't have to be a genius at prompt engineering. You can let CAPPI lead you along the journey. So I think that's quite nice. I don't know if there's any questions around that one there.
So if you've got your profile on, because you've switched your profile off, and you're now saying that you need to develop a lesson for a specific term, and you're in this mode to help, it will then know your background already, and it'll know the content that you want. So it would be much quicker and more specific. Is that right?
Correct. So let's go and load the profile there. So we're doing life skills. You're going to have to help me a little bit. What is a topic on life skills that we should be doing in grade 4?
In grade 4.
See, Karen, I'm not the only one. That's the thing.
Why don't you ask CAPPI?
So why don't we ask CAPPI?
Why don't you ask it? Why don't you just say to it what is being taught in term 3?
It's literally the whole point.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, this afternoon when I was playing, I just typed in history grade 7 and it broke down the whole curriculum for me so beautifully, what happens in every term, without having a profile of being a history teacher. So that's why I'm thinking this can guide you even more. Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely, and give you all that information. Now, once you've got that, you can then start your process of asking and eliminating as you sort of move through the system. So that's the beauty of CAPPI in terms of letting him lead and ask the questions. Obviously, if you go back into your chats, if you know that you want to do a quick start, for example, you want to create lesson plans, generate assessment rubrics. There's so much. I mean, the beauty of CAPPI is that it's a one-stop a delivery tool from a digital and from an EdTech point of view. Do you want to do a parent communication? You want to generate an email?
So if we go back to your, so if we go to your lesson plan and we now go back to our grade 4s and we say it's a grade 4 a creative arts lesson in term 3, what does it or term 4, what does it do?
Creative, sorry, grade 45. Listen to me.
Or is it...
Let's go, grade 4, lesson plan. Yeah, keep going, Tina.
I just want to suggest that you switch off the filter at the top of the screen because it's gonna try and ask you.
Grade 4 lesson plan for term 3 on
creative arts.
All right, and then CAPPI will run through and it'll go down to the ATPs and it'll start building in and around it. What we want to do now is while we're here, let's ask it a question which we know grade 4s don't deal with. So give me, let's wait for CAPPI to finish running through. There we go. And as it runs through, learners will participate. What resources are you needing? What production in there? CAPPI, it's still referencing the cross documents to make sure it's accuracy. And then it'll give you all the information that you need in terms of the lessons that you need to sort of work on for creative arts.
Oh, that's brilliant. And then you can go
at the bottom of that page, there should be a reference document.
Yeah. And that for me is really important too. So I believe if you click on that, you can then see the page of within the document it pulled it from. So you can actually check, has it actually got the information from the correct document I'm supposed to be using? And look at that. There's your ATP. So as a teacher, you can quickly see how it's linked and it's all within your profile and it's so easy to do. If I think of just a project we're working on with online safety where the teachers are linking to ATPs and how they've had to pull the information in and then trying to fit. This is just brilliant to be able to say, look at this and see how you could be using it to really assist you really quickly and easily with the online safety stuff linked to the ATPs. So that's really, really cool.
So from a content and from a quality point of view, go for it.
No, finish what you say.
Yeah, I think what's very important, and this is why we loved working on this project with Tim and the team, was because the quality of the information that we were getting is unbelievably powerful because it's grounded, and it's quite important because there's a lot of talk around aligned versus grounded. There's a lot of tools out there that say, oh, it's CAPS aligned. The fact of the matter is that most AI tools would be CAPS aligned if you ask the question and say in the CAPS curriculum, I want this and this and this. But that doesn't ground it. That just tells you what answer you want to get. It doesn't quality control the content that you're getting and keep it within the guardrails of the curriculum that you're after. There was a question that popped up and said, does it need to be online? Yes, it does. Yeah, it does need to be online there. And the reason for that really is that the power of the large language AI tool has to run in the cloud. It is just so big in terms of what it's doing behind the scenes. The truth is in terms of bandwidth, what does it require? You're probably looking that you could get away. I mean, the last test that we did was around about 8 megs, so it wasn't a very big bandwidth because what it's doing is that it's sending the information to the AI tool. to the CapsGPT brain, basically. And then the processing power sits there, and then it sort of pushes the information back. And depending in terms of what the size, what it does need is it'll sort of send it down. But when it comes to sort of the bandwidth and the sync, it needs to remain connected, because when it does lose connectivity, it will break the connection, and it'll say you might need to re-ask the question, because the processing power is there. Now, this is important, because what is vital for CAPPI is that it needs to be able to work on a mobile phone, a tablet, or a Celeron computer in a district that has relatively low bandwidth. So we take the performance and the performance of the device out of the performance of the platform, so that we can basically make it available across the board. Hey, so yeah, Karen, that's that side of it. That's the quick start, and they let CAPPI lead. I just want to, while we're busy playing here, a couple of the other features. You can have a voice control. So we give voice tokens as well for people who don't want to sit and type, or they have a problem. Maybe there's a problem in terms of the dyslexia. Yeah, 8 megabits per second, Mario, is quite comfortable in terms of there. What's key is consistency and connectivity. Okay, that's probably the big one. Is you don't want to drop off in the middle of a question, because then the AI will say, I never quite understood, or I wasn't able to process. So yeah, it's very important. It doesn't require big bandwidth. Yeah, so you've got the voice activation, where you are able to have X amount of minutes worth of questions, where you can talk to CAPPI, and CAPPI will even answer you with a voice token as well, if we wanted it to. So we're working on doing that, because that will help. For example, kids who maybe have a bit of a learning disability in terms of dyslexia or whatever it happens to be. So we've built those in for long term. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of the tool. And
convenience for teachers, that they can just speak the prompt.
Oh, everything about time. I mean, you know, when I do some demonstrations and I'm busy trying to look at CAPPI on my phone, then I'll just like use the voice note and go, please just do this and this and this, and it does it. And the next thing you know, you've got CAPPI going, and you don't even have to say, hey, CAPPI, you just push the button, because that can be quite distracting. So the next feature that we want to focus on is the explain anything. This is one of my favorite one. And I'm going to sort of do data handling and sequencing. We'll leave mathematics, but I'm going to just look at grade 3 to 1 to 3. But here's the beauty of it is that I can explain it, and I can do a step-by-step. I can do a story-based narrative. And this is quite key, because I think if an educator is self-aware, that, you know, they may know that me as an educator, I'm very, very structured in the way that I ask the questions. So I'm down straight to the point, and maybe I'm teaching a different grade and suddenly, and I need to have a little bit more of a story-based narrative. I'm not quite getting through to the kids in the way that I think I need to. And what we're going to do is we're going to do it for a general understanding. I can then add a little bit of context if I want to, and I can get in and say it's for a general understanding. And I can say, my kids play soccer in the classroom. Use this as a reference. And then I'm going to hit generate an explanation. And now what will happen is it'll come back in a storytelling environment, give us a little bit of context, and actually use soccer as a good example of sequencing in that. And so the first thing it's going to do, thanks very much again. This was from one of our teachers, why the topic matters, core explanation, the sequencing, etc. Teacher's points, story-based telling. There we go. Class, imagine you're a bunch of classroom coaches in the classroom of champions for the soccer team. You want to win a big trophy. So again, it's bringing it and really making it personalized in the way that it brings through the message. So you as an educator, you don't have to sit there and try and come up with, scratch your brains and, you know, how are we going to come up with ideas on there? Take us through classroom activities to explain it. And you could potentially take the kids out onto the football field and show them a physical demonstration of how to do sequencing, using the scoreboard and using soccer as an example to be able to do this. I can save it to my notes, save it to my notepad for the next time that I want to use it. I can export it. It's just, let's scroll down there. I can export it into PDF or into Word document. I could go and I could dive deeper, and that'll give us more information, and it'll go say there, and it'll give us a lot deeper look and feel. I can simplify, I can change some examples. So you can see that it really is intuitive in seeing how can we make life a lot easier for everybody involved. So one of my favorite features is the explain anything for teachers, and working through it. Yeah, so that's that one.
So
Any questions?
please just speak to the importance of privacy and security and the features that have been built in here for guardrails for both the teacher, for the parents, and for the learners. If you can talk about guardrails and AI. For me, you've already addressed the bias and the hallucinations, which are huge things. And if we don't look at work critically from a text point of view, we often don't even realize the hallucinations or the bias. So for me, by knowing it's South African, that's really cool. But the next thing is privacy. Security in terms of that. You've addressed the privacy and not collecting individual data. But talk to the security. I don't know, Tim, if you want to address some of that, and then Glenn can add.
Sure, I can do that. If I can just go back, sorry, whoever asked the question about offline and speed, 8 megs is more than enough to be able to use the program. And it's mostly just because you're not looking at the open internet. You're basically having a discussion with the database. So it's much lighter on that. And then also, sorry, I think I already told you I'm losing my voice, so please forgive me.
It's all good. It's all good.
The other thing is that if you're using it offline, there is read-only offline. So whatever you've done on the app is still going to be there on the app when you open it when you don't have internet. So you can look at your lesson plans and you can look at everything that you've done. You just can't use it because you need the AI to be able to use it. So I just had to jump back to that. I hope that makes sense.
That's really, really useful. I mean, so if you've created a lesson plan and you've forgotten to download it at home and you get to school and there's no connectivity, you've still got access to reading the activities and seeing what the lesson plan is, and carrying on from there. So that's a really nice feature.
Brilliant. Yeah. So then guardrails you want to know about. So we obviously have the standard kind of guardrails, crisis protocol guardrails. So if you say, I had to tone it down at one point. It was quite funny because one of my favorite things to do is to go into that filter and just choose a grade, a subject, and a term, and write help in the chat box, and then it'll give me all the information about that grade and term. But just because I just wrote help, one of the first times I was busy doing it, the first thing it said was, here's the number for SADAG, here's the number for this and that, and don't do anything stupid, those kind of things. But if it's history that you need help with, here's the answer. So I had to tone that down a bit because it was picking up every single time you asked for help with anything. It assumed mental crisis.
But I just want to say, I really do like your feature where if a child is saying something inappropriate, the child line number pops up and it actually says to the child, here's a telephone number where you can phone and speak to a person who can assist you. I really, really like that feature and think that is something which lots of tools don't actually think about. So you've thought about the children who are misusing the tools in the children's feature. I'm not actually sure what happens when teachers do it, but I think that's really cool in terms of how you can get help. So that's just one of the guardrails you've built in.
Yeah, a safety feature that I made called age-appropriate refusal. So if, depending on what age group you are, when you ask the question, it'll answer you differently, sometimes refuse and sometimes give you a grounded answer in the curriculum. That's about it. So if you're asking certain things at certain ages, it's going to either say no, go away, or it'll gently redirect you into something else. Or if there is something in the curriculum that covers that, it'll always point you towards that. So we've got that. Sorry, yes?
No, go. I thought you finished. No, go.
Well, I've got there's so many things I could talk about, so you're welcome to say something.
But I think
yeah.
what you've done is you've really thought about how to keep the children safe and how to keep the kids safe in a technology which can really do weird stuff. So I think that's important.
So that's the thing is that with security, and I think it's across the industry, whether you're in a big business or outside. I mean, we're getting AI policies pushed down left, right, and center. And AI policies are not just about technology; they sometimes are HR policies, and how to deal with these things. Because we think that AI is simply a technical tool. It's not. It's actually a human behavioral change, and that's what we had to look at. And when Tim and I sort of were drilling down onto some of the bits and pieces in and around it, and he touched on this, is to say that it has to be appropriate. When a teacher's asking for help, don't tell them to call Childline, but give them a couple of tips on what they should be doing to be able to get through this. And, whilst we look at it and we may be focusing, or we might find ourselves sometimes focusing on the well-resourced schools, picture yourself being sitting in the middle of a rural area just trying to cope with 40 kids in a class with 3 different grades or 5 different grades all learning.
40 is a small class. The teachers I've been working with for the last while, 50 is an average, and that's a small. So what you're saying is really true. Yeah.
So that feeling of being overwhelmed is just as important as well. And on that topic, I want to show you the next point because it's such a lovely lead. We've built in a great assessment tool as well. Now, I want to show you this for a couple of reasons. Let me just go out, just make sure that I don't.
Do you mind if I just say something quickly, Glenn, while you're finding it?
No, with pleasure, buddy.
For me to say. When you're getting those answers about sort of help with mental health and so on, there's no advice. That's the most important thing. There's no mental health advice that's coming to you. It's always going to try to point you towards legitimate help. So it's not going to start trying to solve the world's problems or your personal problems for you.
Yeah, but it's going to give you. It's going to act as that little bit of a mentor. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Your mental health will be better, I think, when you have the help.
Glenn, before you go into the assessment, I just want to talk to another point. So inside of this tool, all the pedagogical frameworks that have been put in there. So I don't know if you quickly want to ask CAPPI, just say, what tools and things can you help me with in terms of pedagogical tools and ideas? Can you assist me with something along those lines? Because there's so many in terms of the thinking around how you can create your lessons. So it's not assuming the AI is guessing. There's been a lot of training around how we actually get it to think and teach in a modern space. And that's been brilliant in terms of the kind of output that you as the teacher can ask for, can get, the kinds of lessons you can develop. So for me, it's really, really interesting when you talk to that and how it says that I understand Bloom's taxonomy, or I can do an inquiry-based lesson or a project-based lesson, or looking at the different kinds of things. Your answer is completely different to what I got this afternoon, but just look at the different types of tools and things. And so you as the teacher can start extending yourself in terms of how you teach, and maybe get exposed to tools and things that you weren't aware of. And so developing your own learning within that space and really creating fantastic lessons for your individual learners. So Glenn, if you want to go over the assessment.
Yeah, did you also ask for pedagogical tools for grade 12 geography on climate change? It was quite all right. All right, let's have a look at assessments here. So this is a wonderful tool, and you want to see the beauty of how this has been built. And this is the genius that Tim has sort of unpacked, and we've thrown around ideas, but this fella's really brought something out. So I just want to we're just going to look at an assessment. We're going to go to grade 12. Sorry, let me just scroll down a little bit so we can see the full page here. Why we're not getting it there? Sorry, there we go. Grade 12, and let's just look at geography here quickly. And you know what I think what you'll find is that, again, back to the ideas of the prompting and making sure you prompt correctly. What happens is that the closer and the more you can give information, the better. So we're going to now generate an assessment that you want to, and once the assessment is generated, we've just got 5 questions that are there that'll come up, and yeah, it'll pull through. Just an interesting one where we got the name CAPPI from. It comes from Chappie's Bubblegum, and you can see it giving you little tips and notes on the side there. So that's quite a cool tool to have. All right, my assessment is ready. Okay, so I've got 5 questions, 60 marks on climate, etc., and there's the questions that came out. Okay, great. Now I can do one of 2 things here. Is I can fill in and then I can have my answers marked. But what I could also do as the educator is I could share the quiz. Now, I could then share the quiz to my class through a QR code. And if you were to
so can we just stop a second? So anybody who's watching, give it the go. Scan this QR code and do this quiz and see what happens. Sorry. So it would work. It would work now. It would work now too.
Yeah.
So carry on with what you're saying. So carry on with what you were saying.
And what will happen is that on the mobile phone, you'll pop up a link directly into CAPPI, and you will be able to start doing the quiz. I hope the QR code is clear enough for you to be able to pick it up.
Yeah, I'm hoping to. Yeah.
Did it work?
Yeah, it works perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what you'll be able to do is that you'll be able to go in and the answers, and you can populate the answers. Cool. So we'll mark the answers. It won't let me mark the answers. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to just put some ruffle in there. Natural greenhouse effect. Okay. This is gas from eating too many beans. And then I'm going to go to the next one. Study hypothetical graph of this. I don't know the answer to this. I'm just going to put
volcano. Got to write whole essays for these. It's 15 marks and 15 marks and 12 marks. These are real long.
Apply your understanding of this. Well, they're grade 12 questions, and you're preparing for exam. There's a water resources, and I'm going to go the Vaal River. I'm going to fail this one on purpose.
If I can just stop you. Tim, explain what you said you updated this afternoon after we did the quiz earlier today. So do you want to tell everybody what you did? Tim, you muted.
It's a rookie error. Yeah. So I'm going to have to share on my screen because I see Glenn's has not updated to the most recent version.
It should have. But anyway, let's have a look and see.
Yeah, you're on teacher there. So can I share?
I'm going to go out.
Yeah.
While you're busy playing with it, well, let's just go. Okay, no, you carry on.
So for me, I think the exciting thing is if you've got something that you're interested in developing, contact Tim if you're using the platform, and they update the things really quickly. And so, for example, this afternoon, I did a quiz that he'd put on the screen, and he said, as the parent, you can't actually see the results. Or as the, I think as the teacher, you can. Yeah, go.
No, you couldn't on either this afternoon. So we've just made it so that if you're a teacher, you can see the results. But now when you share the quiz, when the learner opens the quiz, the first thing it's going to ask them to do is put their name in, so that when they submit the quiz, it'll land here underneath create new assessment. It'll go to shared quizzes, and it'll show you here how many kids have done the quiz, how many's been marked. And you can have a look at the quiz questions. You can see who attempted the quiz and see the results of which children tried it, what % they got. So it's not a massive LMS. It's just helpful to do little quizzes like this. And this, like we said, this was a very last minute thing that we just threw together this afternoon. But yeah, that's the idea there. And then obviously on the parent side, I realize we haven't looked much at the parent and learner side of CAPPI, but every one of those portals has a completely different persona. So depending, obviously with the learner side, it treats the learners like a friend. The parents is different, the teachers is different. And also something that we also didn't really get into is it does have specific personas for different subjects and grades. There's specialists for everything. So how we would go into prompt engineering, and we would usually have to go and put all of that information in of who it is that's asking the question, where it's coming from, all of those kind of call it prompt fluff. That's all like ready and made for you. So you don't have to worry about giving it a tone of voice or anything like that, unless you don't like the ones that I've made. And then
and then also Glenn touched on it.
I went a little bit off your question.
No, that's brilliant. But Glenn went into it where you're talking about the two other personas. So when you are a parent, what is the age group of children that it's allowed to use CAPPI?
Okay, it's let's go. If you can let my screen share. I don't know if it's why it's not sharing. I will take you through. There we go. Thanks very much. So what I'm going to do now is I'm lucky I can switch modes. I'm going to go into let's start with the Learner Hub. This is quite important, and this is sort of something that Tim has been vociferous about, is that this tool we've designed it to be dealing with grade 8 to 12. We do not for 1 millisecond believe that learners should be playing in the primary school. This is great from a high school point of view, but certainly from a primary school point of view, learners. Now, to be honest with you, if I'm a grade 8 learner and I need to ask questions about grade 7 mathematics, it will give me the answers. It's trained to do that. But the main focus of this is really that it's not geared towards the kids that are younger than grade 8. So that's quite important. So we've got a couple of features here. Again, more or less, there's a couple of things that are the same. Again, you can see now you're not preparing lessons. There's some practical tests, etc., that you can play with as a learner. We've got a feature called Study Buddy. Study Buddy is going to help me now understand and help me study, where I can ask him to test me on a situation. So let's, if I go into Study Buddy, this is where the Socratic theory and the Socratic principles start coming through in terms of there. So I'm going to go, and I'm just going to go GO. Term 3. And what will happen is it'll start quizzing me, and it'll start getting me to work and ask questions in a manner that basically says, well, what are you actually doing? What do you want to think about? What are we going to do? So term 3 focus on really for their settlements. We're looking at where people live, why they live, etc., etc. Think about the sizes. What do people? So now it will start with the Socratic questioning and then work our way through it, and will be very, very clear in terms of what it actually gives you. And Study Buddy is great because you can engage with it, and again, give it all the questions and answers that you want to try and sort of drive through, and make sure that you're getting a good workout with it. I think one of the other things that I really enjoy about this is for the student point of view is the past papers. So if we go grade 12, past papers, exam preparation, and let's say let me just go down to geography here, because you can see I use geography because it's the one that I'm sort of a little bit there. I want to do the top 10 questions from the grade 12 final papers for the last 2 years, general exam preparation, and I want to generate study material. It will now go onto the grade 12 geography papers that have been uploaded, and it will look at the last 2 years worth of questions, and it'll come back and it'll say, these were the top 10 questions that were asked in those papers, based around the topic, which is climatology in this one. So it just helps the learners when they're getting to those panic stages towards the end of the year, just to sort of cram a little bit better and give them insights as to what the questions are. And when you go and you start to answer these questions,
we want them to understand content knowledge.
100%. But I think
this was made by a
crammer. Yeah, I think what's quite important, Karen, I think there's something that we miss when it comes to that is that what we would like and what happens in practice. Imagine if they were doing this on Gemini AI, or they were doing this on Caps and on ChatGPT or something like that. And I think that this is something that we as from a technology point of view, want to really sort of bring up is on the one hand, we can argue the ideology, but on the other hand, what we've also got to sort of look at is saying, if it's going to be part of our future, how do we make it safe, and how do we ensure that it sort of works, everything works through? And then I could generate a quiz. Now, this is quite important once I've done this, because it will tell me how, if I am answering the questions in the way that the material is written, and how it needs to be answered, and the examiner wants to see it. So what I did when I did this one test over here is I went on to Google, and I sort of just grabbed, you know, when you go to Google AI and it just gives you that brief one. So I grabbed that and I just plotted the 10 questions in. And as I did that and plotted those 10 questions in, where we are, there's my study material. Okay, sorry, let's just, we did that. Sorry, I don't know. I meant to generate quiz. Sorry, let's just redo that. Let's generate a quiz from this. Hey?
What's a question master that's popped up?
That's my grading, because I'm really using this quite a lot in terms of my progress. It's a bit of game-based in terms of how good you are and what you focus on.
Oh,
it's
nice.
an award for 100 messages.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, so we were busy with exam prep. We did all this. Let's go back here. Let's generate the quiz, because, as I said, don't interrupt. It gets very sensitive when you interrupt AI. I can now mark my answers, and it's going to give it. Now, if I go and I sort of bring those answers back and I don't answer them correctly, it'll give me a mark. So this is, for example, out of 4. It'll give me 2 out of 4, and then it'll tell me where I went wrong. So in my exam preparation, and we encourage people to go and play with it. We have a section for past papers, which we're busy getting all of these up and running 100% now. But just to sort of put it into perspective here, this is there's a tool one of the guys run at the moment. I can't for the life of me remember who it is, but they're very simple. It's like in a textbook where you open up a textbook and it uses like Adobe AI type of thing. And here you can actually go in and it stays within this area, and you could say, what was question 4? And then what it'll do is it'll scrape the paper and it'll come back and it'll tell you what question 4 was. And then you can sort of ask there. I've just used it as an example. So this is a nice way to actually, if you want to interrogate those past papers. We're going to run out of time. So yeah, it's there. I want to go. The last one I want to do is I just want to switch one more mode here to the Parent Hub. This was an idea that came out of me going to a friend of mine's 60th, and I was sitting chatting to one of the moms, and she's very intense with her 2 little daughters, and they're high performers, but she's working with them, and she was using one of the other AI tools to create these lessons. And I said to her, what if we could build something which was a parent assistant? And she said, I'm in. So she's actually running tests for us right now with her kids, where she's building a couple of, she uses it to help explain some of the tougher hard work. It's great to explain as a parent grade 1, 2, 3, and 4, but when you suddenly have to explain grade 7 maths, it becomes quite difficult. What you'll notice now is that there's less focus. There's no more subjects. In terms of there's no more a breakdown of to who you are. There's
add your child.
There's an add your child. There's an add your child function where you can put your child in, and you can put your child's grade in. So let's go that this is Glenn.
And so if you have multiple children, you can just switch between their profiles so it knows where they are.
So with your children, you can go younger, but the children working on their own are only high school. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The parent portal should be for kids all the way from ECD up to grade 12, because it's the parents helping if they'd like to. I think my wife uses this every single day to help my child with certain subjects. So yeah, parents can use it throughout, but we just want the learners to use it from grade 9, 10.
Sense.
Yeah.
So you can, like Glenn said, you theoretically can use it. All the information is there. We just don't make it look like you can.
Yeah, we don't want to.
So we've got about 2 minutes before I want to start finishing off. So if you want to start ending up with what you're showing, please, Glenn.
Yeah, with pleasure. So again, this is to help me explain. You can create a quiz for your kid, and you can see that the fundamentals of the way that the large language model has been built, it's very, very grounded. I know that there are tools. There was one with that absolutely phenomenal tool called Notebook LM, in terms of the features, and we really is great. And a lot of the learnings that you sort of got to take into consideration some of the benefits that it does. But what I want to just sort of point out is that you don't want to have to go and look for the subject and the ATPs. Parents don't know what an ATP is. They don't know what Bloom's taxonomy is, and they don't know what's supposed to be taught when. And I think that it's quite important, and this is something that we found, that the reason the parent portal came up was the most important thing that we're trying to actually achieve is alignment between parents and the classes. Parents, sometimes, I think me as a parent, we can be obstructive because we don't know what the teachers are trying to achieve. You see, for us, the CAPS curriculum as parents is never going to cover everything we think they should, because we think that the world is better outside of South Africa. But the more I've learned from working within this whole platform and within the CAPS curriculum is that it's so set out in terms of what you must achieve by when, that as parents, you've got to be careful that you don't force your kids to run fast or slow down too much. You've got to keep them up to date. And I think that that's the beauty of something like the parent portal and the parent assessments is that it works through. And I think that that's the beauty of what we're able to achieve. But again, most importantly is because you're grounded in the content. You don't have to keep going and finding the content every time you want to upload documents. You don't want to do all of that. You want to be able to go, switch on, do what needs to be done, and get back into the class. Tim, I don't know if you want to finish up, wrap them up on your side.
Tim, I see. Do you want to share your screen?
I can.
No.
Am I sharing something specific with you? I can do that. I was looking at the comments here, and I just see Mario had a question. Is it grade triple R to R? That's all there.
Grade
yes.
R, yeah.
All of ECD is in the system. So it works from grade triple R or quadruple all the way up to grade 12.
So if you are a teacher teaching ECD, sort of children from birth to 1, you could find lesson ideas in terms of the framework and stuff around that. Is that what you say?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly as you could do with grade 9, you can do with 3-year-olds. So fantastic. Yeah, I think just we got to finish up. So I just wanted to say the last thing for me is that my favorite thing to do with CAPPI, just to see how it works. Obviously, you're going to have to look at it yourself and see that it actually works. I think people trust it when they see it. My favorite thing to do is to just go to an open chat and say, I'm a substitute teacher. I've been put in front of a grade 7 class. It's term 3 and I'm supposed to be teaching history. What do I do? And give me an introduction and a short lesson. And it'll tell you exactly what to do. You don't have to think about doing it right or doing it wrong. So anyone can step into any role and get all the information at any time. So
that's brilliant.
There's so many things I could share with you, but that's one of my favorites.
So what you're saying to everybody is go and play. So CAPPI is a paid-for solution. We know that AI is really expensive in terms of development. And also when you're using a paid-for solution, remember your stuff is more secure. And so I want you quickly just to explain the payment versions and what people and how that quickly works.
Sure. So we've got three levels of standard payments. So we've got the simple version of CAPPI, which is 99 Rand a month. And for the simple version, for a teacher that's just using it for a couple of lesson plans or a few answers throughout the day, is absolutely perfectly fine. That's 99 Rand. I think you get about 35 chats a day with a whole lot of perks within the chat. So it's not just 35 questions, it's like full chats. And then it goes up to, I think, 159 or 149 for the mid tier. And that then gives you also some image generation and text to speech and speech to text. And then in the highest level, it gives you all of that with unlimited questions, all the speech to text and text to speech, which is surprisingly probably the most expensive thing that we have going here, is those two things.
Which is how much? Which is how much is your top end?
That's 260, and that's got everything, including image generation and everything. So yeah, that's.
And
I think,
look at
and
what Mario's just said. Wait, yeah. Finish your sentence.
You can also get bundled packs. So if you're a parent and a teacher, or you want to get the teacher and the learner, you can bundle them all together.
Oh, brilliant.
So that's it.
And Mario's just made the comment with you looking at ECD, how many children are under 6. And we also know that the Department of Basic Education is really trying to assist these ECD teachers. So for me, this is a wonderful tool to help those teachers in how we can actually help the children within that space.
And that's always been, one of the main drivers is getting this kind of information out to people that don't have access to all the courses all of the time. So that's there. And sorry, one quick last thing is when you're doing that, ask CAPPI anything about the curriculum. If you are in a, say, under-resourced area, you could say, I'm doing coding and robotics for grade 4, term 3, and I only have 2 sticks and a rock and a Coke bottle. What do I do? And then it'll give you all sorts of ideas around those things for that lesson. So those are fun.
Yeah, so I think just telling people about it and the kinds of things and how you can explore and play within this tool and really change the way you teach, whether you are a well-resourced school or whether you're a school with no resources, whether you're a teacher who has got a really big class or a teacher who has a very small number of children, whether you're teaching the very old children within the school curriculum or the tiny, tiny little tots. This tool is really, really for you. If you're a parent and you're pulling your hair out because you don't know how to help your children, explore this tool. And as high school children, see how you can build your knowledge and not become lazy in using AI. And so for me, I just want to say that this has been a fantastic discussion. I really, really hope that your tool flies, because I think that it is just the most amazing AI tool from a South African education point of view. And I really just wish you the hugest success. If I could ask you, could you perhaps have a look at just giving us a sentence or two in terms of why you think people should use your tool? If you could both tell us. Who'd like to begin?
Let me tell you, I'll come from an ACE point of view. We think that the tool, and this is why we're endorsing it, working and really getting behind it, because it's going to empower educators to have more hours in the day. And I know you said one lesson, but we had one teacher who came to us and she said to us that she had planned to spend a weekend or a whole holiday doing the annual plan. And she said she finished it in a weekend. So it's going to make your life as a teacher a lot easier. And that's what technology is there to do, is to make us more efficient.
That's very true. Tim?
I could say 1,000 things because I love CAPPI like it's one of my own children. But I think the biggest thing is you can trust CAPPI. You can trust CAPPI more than you could trust any general language model. And I'd put my entire career on it, that you can trust CAPPI. So,
yeah.
So for those of you who are watching, go and explore cappi.co.za. Go and play and learn and have lots of fun. Thanks everyone for sharing this evening. Thanks for the comments and the discussions. Tim and Glenn, thanks for your time. I'm going to say good night. Good night, everyone. I'm going to end the stream.
Good night.